Okay, so when we get done with this, we're going to have a little something that looks kind of like this. It's a box plot, but we just need to show you like what the different parts of the box plot represent numerically. So I've already got step 1 here for you. So first of all, we have a big old long list of numbers that we are getting ready to turn into a box plot, but I obviously typed those out for you. So the first thing we need to do is get a median for the data set. So since there's 30 numbers on this set of data, the middle, because that's what the median means, so the middle of that data set is right there between 70 and 72, because you've got 15 numbers on one side and 15 numbers on the other side. So you might remember from class, the way we figure out the median if you don't have just one number in the middle is that you figure out what would be the number that's halfway in between both of those numbers. So you just add them together and divide by 2. So the median is 71. So step 1, to start creating your box, you need to find the median. And so right up here above the number line, I'm going to put a little vertical line that kind of matches that color to show where that part of the box is getting ready to go, right over this. And I know it's not a perfect estimate probably, but it's all right. It's right there at 71. So because we just found the median, so now that we found the median, we split the data in half. The next step, the next piece of the box, is that we need to find the median of the lower half of the data. So the lower half of the data is all of this right here, everything to the left-hand side of the 71. And the median, the number that is in the middle, if I counted correctly, is 62. Let me double check and make sure there's the same number of numbers on either side. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So the number that is the median of the lower half of the data is 62. And this 62 has a special name for it. The median of the lower half, it's called the lower quartile. And you'll see why in a second. Excuse me. We also call it, for short, some people call it the Q1 for short. You're going to see both of those things. And so that 62 becomes the left side of your box plot. So we're just going to put a vertical line. It's getting ready to be another part of your box in a second. So right above the number line, we're about like a couple over from 60. Doesn't have to be perfect. The lower half of the data. So now we got to find the median of the upper half of the data. So if I counted correctly, if I look over here on the right-hand side, pretty sure the middle number is 80. Yep. So it's got 7 on either side. And the same way the median of the lower half of the data was called the lower quartile, the median of the upper is called the upper quartile. That is definitely a word you want to write down. And you would think that it would be called the Q2 for short, but it's not. It's actually called the Q3. And I'll show you why in just a second. So we need the right side of our box right here above the 80, where the upper quartile is. And then that is how you make the box part of your box plot. So the median is like that line that's inside it. The lower quartile is the left-hand side of the box, and then the upper quartile is the right-hand side of the box. The reason that this is called the Q1, but this is called the Q3, is because the median is actually the Q2, but we almost never call it that. But you may see that somewhere, but we pretty much always just call it the median, but every once in a while, somebody calls it the Q too. So then the last thing we do, because in our original example, see how the box has like little whiskers is what you called them probably in middle school or in 6th grade. They kind of stick off on either side. So this one's also got whiskers that stick off the side of the box. And they extend out too. So you need one that goes out to the biggest number, which is called the maximum. Help if I simplify. So you need a little dot right above that 90, because that's the biggest number in the list of numbers. And then finally, you also need a dot above the lowest number that's in that data set, which the biggest one is the maximum, the smallest one is the minimum. So you need a dot about where the 47 would go. I didn't make that very straight, but, and then you've got the little whiskers that extend out to the side of it. And then because there's 5 separate parts, because you've got a minimum, a maximum, your Q1, Q2, and Q3, so there's 5 separate parts. In math, a lot of the time they'll ask you, this is called a 5-number summary. That just means that it's the 5 numbers that summarize that data, because there's 5 parts.